I live-streamed unboxing the birthday gift from my boyfriend, but all I found was a pile of raffia grass and half a pack of leftover spicy sticks. My roommate burst out laughing beside me. Su Qingyan, I have to hand it to you. How can you keep dating such a stingy man? Faced with ridicule from the entire internet, I angrily broke up with my boyfriend, until 3 years later. I came across my roommate and her boyfriend's wedding photos while browsing locally. She proudly captioned, "To be with my rich boyfriend." I secretly swapped the gift he gave to my roommate, successfully breaking them apart. I am the best little lamb. In a state of unease, I died in a car accident. Opening my eyes again, I found myself back to the day before the live broadcast went viral. My roommate was craning her neck to ask me, "Qingyang, has your boyfriend's gift arrived yet?" The pain of being run over by a car still lingered on my body, coming back to my senses. I saw my roommate Chenling already reaching out to fiddle with the cardboard box on my desk. "It's quite heavy. Did your boyfriend put a bunch of rocks in there?" Chenling teased, her eyes filled with blatant disdain. I suppressed the deep-seated hatred in my eyes, recalling that in my previous life, at this time, I had only been dating my boyfriend for a week. He usually dressed very plainly, so I had no idea he was a rich second-generation heir. Chenling also always thought I was dating someone poor. She would often flaunt the 10 yuan milk tea her boyfriend bought her in front of me, and she never missed a chance to belittle my boyfriend. She always tells me to stick with my poor boyfriend. It wasn't until she secretly opened the birthday gift my boyfriend gave me that she started urging me to break up with him, which was completely out of character. If it weren't for her stirring up trouble in my previous life, I wouldn't have broken up with him so impulsively without even getting an explanation. A raging fire burned in my heart, yet my face remained calm. I took the gift box off the table and placed it under the desk. Birthday gifts are only meaningful when opened on the actual birthday. Tomorrow, I'll live stream it online to see what my boyfriend got me, though I expect it's just some cheap snacks or something, since we're all students. It's not like your boyfriend, who's so generous, buying a 9 yuan Luckin coffee without even blinking. Hearing this, a hint of superiority appeared on my roommate's face. Her boyfriend is an oily middle-aged man from outside the school. He spends 2,000 of his 4,000 yuan monthly salary on her. Chenling also makes no attempt to hide it, loudly discussing the benefits of having a boyfriend 10 years older every day in the dorm, mature and caring. Those of us who want to find someone can't even get into a relationship. After I changed the subject, Chenling indeed didn't dwell on the gift box anymore. I breathed a sigh of relief and went to the bathroom to take a shower. When I came out, as soon as I opened the door, I saw Chenling blocking the entrance. She twisted her dry, long hair, staring at me intently. "Something's off. Why did you suddenly start praising my boyfriend just now? You're not falling for my man, are you? I'm warning you. Being a homewrecker will bring divine retribution, and you won't come to a good end." Everything went black before my eyes. If it were in my previous life, I would definitely be arguing with her by now, but after witnessing her malicious side, I can only go along with her for now. I forced a laugh. "Not at all. Not every woman is as fortunate as you. I'm just a little envious." Chenling was suspicious. "Really? Truer than gold." Chenling was finally satisfied. "All right. But don't lose heart. I'll ask my brother Qing if he has any suitable friends to introduce to you. However, finding someone as good as my brother Qing might be a bit difficult." I barely held back the urge to roll my eyes and went along with her. How could I dare to match someone so great? I'm just fine sticking with my poor boyfriend. Chenling snorted coldly. "At least you know your place. Finally, I've sent off this big Buddha." I let out a long sigh of relief. I started thinking in my head, if I hide my boyfriend's gift in advance or open it early, I can avoid embarrassing myself during tomorrow's livestream. But if that's the case, wouldn't Chenling's actions from her past life be completely erased? I remember in my previous life, after Chenling got together with my boyfriend, she used connections to become my superior. Every day at work, she led the way in bullying me. It caused me to develop depression at a young age. How could I possibly let her off so easily? As I blow-dried my hair, I pondered my next move. That evening, I went to bed early as usual. Around 2 in the morning, a faint rustling sound came from the opposite bed. Seeing Chenling approaching, I immediately pretended to be asleep. She walked over to the lower bunk with ease. I watched as she took a pair of scissors, pulled out a cardboard box from under my desk, and cut through the tape on top. Inside were stacks of bright red renminbi. Even I almost couldn't help but exclaim along with Chenling, using RMB as raffia grass. It's truly outrageously extravagant. No wonder Chenling tried so hard to persuade me to break up in my previous life. Watching her excitedly take them out one by one, I'm happy too. 100, 200, 3,000, we can file a case now. I curled the corners of my lips, watching her dig through the Apple family bucket and Estee Lauder skincare set underneath. Each one is quite criminal. Seeing her contentedly gather everything from the box into her arms, filled with cheap raffia grass and spicy strips, I also contentedly turned off the camera. The next morning, I woke up and glanced at Chenling's empty bed. I knew she couldn't wait to go spend the money. Before dinner in the afternoon, Chenling returned to the dormitory. Her face was glowing with excitement, as if she had encountered something incredibly wonderful. I looked at the latest model iPhone in her hand and deliberately asked, "New phone," a very ordinary sentence, but Chenling was so agitated she nearly jumped. "My husband bought it for me." "What? Are you so jealous you want to speculate about me?" Her strange reaction made her roommate Xiao Xiao look over. Qingyang was just asking casually, "Why are you reacting so strongly?" Chenling glared back, "Who's reacting strongly? I really envy your thick skin, not even able to detect someone's sarcasm." Xiao Xiao turned her head away in speechless frustration. Chenling rummaged through her handbag again, picking and choosing before finally handing me a small sample of Estee Lauder. "Qingyang, to be honest, the skincare products you usually use are no different from applying water. This is a gift my husband specifically bought for you. Use half a tube, and when you're done, give it to Xiao Xiao. Remember, don't use too much." She glanced smugly at the affordable skincare products on my desk. "This is your first time using a high-end brand. Remember to use it sparingly." I wonder who it was that tipped most of my face cream on the very first day in the dorm. I smiled and asked her, "That's great, Chenling. I'm really happy for you. Now that you have your own skincare products, you won't have to steal mine anymore, right?" Xiao Xiao next to me had already put down her phone and was looking over with a strange expression, before Chenling could lose her temper. I grabbed my bag and headed out the door first. I still had class in the afternoon, and I was almost late. The afternoon class was a large ideological and political lecture, with over 100 people packed into the classroom. As the class was about to end, the political education teacher suddenly said, "Speaking of which, today is also a special day." I was packing my bag when I suddenly felt that something was wrong. The next moment, the political education teacher beamed with joy. "Let's all wish Su Qingyang a happy birthday." As her words fell, my close-up photo was already displayed on the screen. It was an extremely unflattering photo taken from a bizarre angle, so abstract that even my own mother might not recognize me if she were standing here. After a brief silence, the audience erupted into loud laughter. "Who is this? They look so bizarre. Isn't that Su Qingyang, the small-time internet celebrity from our school, without filters and beauty effects? This is what they really look like. I can't take it anymore. I have to take a picture and show it to Su Qingyang's fans. They're really ugly." Someone realized something was off and had already turned on the camera to start the live stream. A university's open class exposing an unflattering photo is already an incredibly explosive gimmick. In less than 2 minutes, the number of viewers in the live stream room surged to 2,000. Where did this caveman come from? Scared the hell out of me. "Would you consider doing custom avatars, miss? If you do, I'll call the police." "Step aside, my buddy Yang so-and-so loves this style." Before long, a flood of memes based on this ugly image exploded in the comments section. I'm a small-time influencer with around 5,000 followers, usually just sharing hand dance videos and daily life updates. Now, a large number of netizens have flooded into my comment section, posting my unflattering photos. They collectively mocked me as a shady internet rat who can't stand the light. The ideological and political education teacher was clearly not surprised by the students' reaction. She also knew that this photo shouldn't have been included in the PowerPoint presentation, yet she still did it. She did it on purpose. "Everyone quiet, quiet. Don't engage in personal attacks or mock someone's appearance over an ordinary classmate," she called out lightly, but didn't say anything about turning off the PowerPoint. My whole body trembling, I calmly watched the scene before me. It was just like this in my past life. Chenling colluded with the political education teacher to publicly humiliate me in the political education class. Chenling also brought the gift box from my boyfriend, pretending to ask me to open it in public to divert everyone's attention. At that moment, I was so flustered and lost that I followed Chenling's suggestion, eagerly wanting to create another spectacle to clarify the situation. Little did I expect that after opening the gift my boyfriend claimed to have carefully prepared, aside from a thick layer of raffia grass, there was only a small pile of off-brand spicy strips. The gimmick is certainly there, it's just that the whole internet is laughing at it, speechless. "What on earth are you doing? Showing off your boyfriend's raffia grass gift box in a large lecture? Wow. It's the first time I've seen someone give raffia grass as a gift. Are you kidding? If she still doesn't break up with him, I can only wish them a happy lock-in." 666. One farce unfolded after another. Even after I appeared on the live stream and everyone realized I wasn't as ugly as the photo the political education teacher had shared, but because of the cheap raffia grass unboxing incident, I still became a laughingstock. A passerby commented that I don't actually look that ugly. Immediately, Some self-appointed internet police compared a screenshot from my video with a beauty filter to a screenshot from my livestream. They called me a Photoshop fraud on this day in my previous life, and for the following month. It's all my nightmare. Wherever I go, people point at me and secretly take photos with their phones. No matter how I speak out, it's useless. Netizens only want to see what they want to see. The only thing I'm grateful for is that I didn't die during that time of depression and despair. Otherwise, I would never have had the chance to understand what the truth of the matter really was. Thinking of this, I suddenly stood up and walked to the podium. Under the surprised gaze of the political education teacher, I greeted everyone appropriately. Hello everyone, I'm Su Qingyan. Today is my birthday, and I want to thank you all for your blessings, especially our political education teacher, who thoughtfully included a photo of my roommate Chinling secretly taking a picture of me. My statement was logically clear, and I quickly explained the origin of the photo. My tone was neither humble nor arrogant, instantly calming the chaotic classroom. Someone remarked curiously, "This doesn't look like the photo at all. This photo should be considered an unflattering one, right?" I thought the photos the teacher showed would be more realistic, but this is way off the mark. "Happy birthday, beautiful girl." I curled the corners of my lips, just as I expected. In my previous life, I was ridiculed by the crowd because I didn't step forward to explain right away. Otherwise, it wouldn't have escalated to that point later on. The political education teacher next to me, after a brief moment of surprise, darkened her expression and whispered to me, "What are you doing up here? Get down quickly." I looked at her strangely and said loudly, "Teacher, didn't you specifically ask everyone to send me their blessings? Why are you asking me to step down now?" Some sharp-witted students in the audience had already sensed that something was off. "Yeah, let the birthday girl say a few words to us. Why do you want her to step down?" The political education teacher broke out in a cold sweat on his forehead. This, just as she couldn't come up with a proper explanation, Chinling suddenly appeared, holding a large cardboard box. She walked step by step from the front door to me, and finally placed the box on the podium, smiling at me like a flower in bloom. "Qingyan, this is a gift from your boyfriend. I made sure to bring it over for you. Hurry up and open it to see what's inside." "Didn't you say your boyfriend is a famously wealthy second-generation heir, and the gifts he gives you are things we could never afford in our lifetime? Let us all get a glimpse of what that looks like." Today, she deliberately wore a pink floral dress. She was already petite and sweet-looking. When she spoke to the boys in the audience, many of their hearts melted. She directed her sarcastic remarks at me. "What kind of high-end gift is that? Unwrap it and show everyone. They're all students. What expensive gifts can they afford? I bet it's from a sugar daddy." Girls these days are so vain. They see unboxing videos trending online and immediately demand unboxing gifts from their boyfriends. They're all college students. Where do they get the money to send a whole box of gifts? Looking like that, she clearly isn't the faithful type. Why don't you ever send a whole box of gifts to a guy? Amid the rising tide of skepticism, netizens in the live stream were also bombarding me with criticism. The reasons are all pretty much the same. I looked at Chinling with a half smile. "Do you really want me to open the box right now?" My reaction left Chinling a bit puzzled, but then she remembered that she had already secretly swapped the contents of the box. Immediately, I steadied my mind again. "It's not that I want you to open the box, it's that everyone here wants to see just how much your boyfriend loves you." "Qingyan," I curled the corner of my mouth. "All right, then as you wish." I took out my phone and logged into my video account, due to someone's live stream. All my metrics were skyrocketing. When I entered, the unread messages had already reached 999 plus. I took a deep breath and, under Chinling's astonished gaze, directly started my live stream. As soon as the stream began, the number of viewers in my live room started to soar straight up. Someone in the audience muttered under their breath, "Damn, where's my audience? Where's my big brother?" I smiled slightly, watching the bean one worth 3,000 yuan rise in the live stream. Only a fool would pass up the chance to make money, and letting someone else take that money is just plain stupid. Whether it's black traffic or red traffic, as long as it makes money, it's good traffic. I set up the phone stand I had prepared earlier, aiming it at the cardboard box. Then, under everyone's expectant gaze, I used my dorm key to slice open the plastic seal that Chinling had repackaged, revealing what's inside. "Raffia grass," someone in the live stream joked. The streamer's boyfriend is quite thoughtful, knowing to use raffia grass to cushion the top to prevent damage. "Hurry up, streamer, I want to see the main event next." I did not do as they wished. Just kidding, the gifts in the live stream are still pouring in. If I finish unwrapping so early, what will happen to my gifts? I leisurely and slowly took the raffia grass from the top, seeing the barrage complaining about my slow speed. I smiled slightly. "Folks, Please give a follow and a like to help the streamer speed up. Thank you to Brother Wang from the Society for sending a rocket. Streamer speed +1. Thank you to Brother Xiao Qingqing for sending a carnival. Streamer speed +2. Chenling was dumbfounded. The political education teacher was stunned, and the students below erupted in excitement. Seriously, if I weren't a real student, I'd think this was all scripted. What's going on? Are they treating me like a free NPC? Does anyone know how much Su Qingyang's livestream earned? Damn, I'm so jealous. Is there any appearance fee? The livestream's popularity multiplied by 0, 1, and then by 0, 5 equals the money she earned from this session. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. Are you saying she has already earned 50,000 so far? I watched the skyrocketing popularity of the livestream and could hardly hold back my laughter. Chenling's eyes were practically turning red with envy. Hurry up, Qingyang, aren't you just teasing us on purpose to keep us waiting for the gift? Stop giving Su Qingyang gifts, she's just a student. Why would she need so much money? Seeing that the livestream audience wasn't listening and instead became more rebellious, showering me with even more gifts. In her anxiety, Chenling directly reached out to help me remove the raffia grass. Layer after layer. The livestream audience was left utterly stunned. Seriously, are you kidding us? So the raffia grass is the gift. Your boyfriend is really stingy. Uncle will send you a little heart. Go buy yourself something nice to eat. As this comment just scrolled by, Chenling had also finished rummaging through the raffia grass in the box. I finally managed to push Chenling away. I saw a wave of exclamations in the comments. Needless to say, I knew it was the spicy strips in the box that had opened their eyes, but just as I was about to use the prepared script to respond to the livestream audience, I suddenly froze. Wow, Estee Lauder set. The streamer's boyfriend is really generous. What happened to the promise broke boyfriend? I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable. I'm out. But upon closer look, why is the plastic seal on the skincare product missing? I quickly looked at the cardboard box. Only then did I realize that it wasn't spicy strips at all, but a full set of Estee Lauder skincare products. What is going on? I have the video of Chenling stealing my things in hand. I'm not panicking, it's just pure confusion. Chenling quickly answered my question. She was surprised to pick up the Estee Lauder from the box. This can't be the skincare product my boyfriend gave me, can it? I remember the pump on my Estee Lauder lotion was broken, and this one looks broken too. She looked at me, her tone full of disappointment. Qingyang, I thought you were my best friend. I never expected you to be this kind of person. If you wanted it, you could have just told me. Why resort to sneaking around like a thief? As she spoke, she also squeezed the pump of the lotion. Sure enough, nothing came out. The live stream exploded. Damn, there's another twist. Could it really be her who stole it? The girl looks decent enough. Why would she do such a thing? What else could it be? Jealousy. Of course, young women like her are the most vain. Seeing her roommate with expensive skincare products, she just couldn't handle it. This is too much of a show. I should have saved it to watch during the Spring Festival Gala. That's when I realized what Chenling was really up to. Not only did you make a fool of me, but now you also want to falsely accuse me of stealing. An idea came to mind. I snatched the Estee Lauder from her hand and retorted. This box was brought from the dorm by you, and I never opened it in between. How can you say I stole it? Chenling pouted. But this cardboard box arrived yesterday, and I even went with you to pick up the package. You had plenty of time to swap it out, Qingyang, and here I trusted you so much. Are you trying to turn the tables on me now? The political education teacher standing nearby also darkened his expression. Su Qingyang, I never expected your character to be so flawed. As a teacher, I can't cover for you. I will report this matter truthfully to the school administration and ensure you receive the appropriate punishment. I crossed my arms and laughed. Stop pretending to be fair. Aren't you just holding a grudge because I publicly corrected you when you taught the wrong knowledge point in the last class? The truth hasn't come out yet, so don't rush to jump around. The political education teacher's face flushed red with anger. Someone below laughed. I was wondering why they'd randomly post someone's unflattering photo. Turns out there's more to the story. You're missing the point. The bigger issue here is Su Qingyang stealing. Thieves should get out of our school. Who knows what worse things she might do next. She looks just like a whore, just like those childless cat-loving women online. She's definitely not a good person. Chenling held back the furious political teacher and said to me sadly, Qingyang, although I really want to help you fabricate evidence, now that you've started a live stream yourself, this matter can't be hidden anymore, and you shouldn't be so disrespectful to the teacher. You said I have no evidence, but I actually do. I was curious about what evidence she actually had. Chenling called out, Xiao, come on up. A sense of foreboding suddenly washed over me. The next moment, My roommate Xiao Xiao walked up. She glanced at me with a look of disgust. Su Qingyang, I really don't know how you have the nerve to turn the tables after stealing someone else's things. If it weren't for Qinling's foresight in giving me the sample, you would have gotten away with it today. As she spoke, Xiao Xiao took out a sample of Estee Lauder lotion. It was exactly the one Qinling had given us this morning. At the time, because I didn't think much of it, I casually handed it to Xiao Xiao. I never expected it to become evidence that Qinling is now using to accuse me. Qinling slightly raised her chin. The serial numbers on the sample and the full-size product are the same. Whether you stole my things or not, you'll know once you compare them. Seeing that I remained silent, Qinling raised an eyebrow. Qingyang, you're not scared, are you? Some people in the crowd were already starting to stir things up. Let's compare and see, it'll be clear at a glance whether you stole it or not. I think it's just a guilty conscience that's making you afraid. Why even talk to her? Just call the police. The audience had already erupted into chaos. Qinling stood with her arms crossed, looking at me with a confident, victorious expression. To be honest, if I hadn't been reborn, I would have really been done for today, but now, I have absolute evidence in hand. So what's the harm in making this matter even bigger? The more triumphant Qinling is now, the more terrifying the backlash she'll face when the truth is revealed. Thinking this far, I no longer hesitated. I directly shouted into the live stream, "One Carnival," and the host will compare immediately. If any big brother wants to know the truth, please give the host some votes. Okay, the audience below was speechless. Live stream audience. Is this really not scripted? If it weren't for the host's age, I'd think she was a seasoned sales veteran with 10 years of experience. Speechless as I was, the moment I finished speaking, 10 carnival gifts took off, and I, facing the camera, revealed the serial number. It matches the sample in Qinling's hand. The classmates below the stage were extremely excited. I told you she was a thief. I won the bet. Pay up, you bitch, wasting my time. I've already called the police. You just wait. The live stream audience was dumbfounded. Wait, if the streamer really stole it, why is she so calm? Some people are just like that. They act righteous even after doing something wrong. The world is too big, and there are plenty of weirdos out there. I've figured it out now. This is just a scripted act, and you fools are not only taking it seriously but also throwing money at them. Su Qingyang, you motherfucker. Are you wasting my time or what? Wait, if this really is a script. Why do I hear police sirens? The next moment, the police burst through the door. We received a report about the theft of a large sum of money. Which one of you is Su Qingyang? The entire internet was in an uproar. It wasn't until the police uniform truly appeared before everyone that people clearly realized this was not a script at all. Is there really such a dog-blooded real-life drama series? In an instant, the number of viewers in the live stream skyrocketed from over 20,000 to 100,000. Seeing the police arrive, Qinling could no longer hold back the smile on her face. She leaned in close to me and whispered softly, Su Qingyang, feeling helpless and scared, aren't you? This is what happens when you cross me. Don't you just love showing off that boyfriend of yours? After today, how could he possibly still want to be with you? The political education teacher also regained the authoritative demeanor of a university professor. She said to me with contempt, Qingyang, you really need to be more down to earth and steady in how you handle things. If you keep going on like this, what will you do when you enter society in the future? I rolled my eyes, watched too many Korean dramas. Two big idiots. Before the two of them could curse back, I obediently followed the police and left. You can't go live on a police car. I could only regretfully turn off my phone and calculate how much money I had just earned from that live stream. In the end, it came to at least 200,000 to start with. I contentedly wiped away the tears that had streamed from my mouth. Consider it compensation for emotional distress. Although my live stream has temporarily stopped, yet the discussions outside have not ceased. When I was taken away by the police and the live stream was shut down, the hashtag college girl theft incident reversals and twists quickly climbed to the top of major search platforms. Countless people began seeking out live stream clips, discussing and analyzing the entire incident. Within just a few hours, the discussion on platforms like Xiaohongshu, Douyin, and Douban had already surpassed hundreds of millions in popularity. The majority of people concluded that I was a stubborn thief. Only a small number of people felt that my reaction when I was taken away was too unusual. And there must be more to the story. For a moment, a massive wave of angry and drama-loving netizens began digging into my campus experiences. Letters were continuously being sent to the school administration. They demanded a serious handling of my theft case to restore a clean and honest campus environment. Many netizens also started criticizing my university. To say that a school with such high admission standards still has scum like me shows that my university is fundamentally flawed. It's a good thing I didn't end up going there back then. Many alumni were unjustly implicated, and after learning the whole story, they developed a strong dislike for me, a classmate they had never even met. In no time, my personal information was exposed. The background and the cesspool became one and the same. Parents and the lone duck fly together. It wasn't until I got out of the car at the police station that I realized many people had followed along. Some were classmates who loved to watch the drama unfold, while others were paparazzi who had caught wind of the story. Many had started live streams, pointing their cameras at the entrance of the police station, dancing with joy. All right, folks, we've arrived at the first scene of a female student from University A being caught for theft and taken to the police station. Everyone, give the streamer some likes and send a few small gifts. Today, I promise to stick around until the end and make sure to bring you the latest updates firsthand. Are you asking for my take on this? Honestly, I think the situation is already pretty clear. It's just a girl driven by vanity, stealing her roommate's expensive skincare products. If there's any twist to this story, I'll literally stand on my head and eat dirt. Okay, at that moment, someone reminded, streamer, why does the person behind you look so familiar? The man turned around and saw me swaggering out of the police station. Not only was I not detained, but I also looked quite dignified. Not even a single false eyelash I had applied in the morning had fallen off. I took in every word spoken by the person holding up their phone and live streaming in front of me. I walked over and, while he was still stunned, greeted his phone camera with a gentle wave. Hello everyone. I'm here now if you have any questions. Please tune in to my live stream at 8 p.m. tonight. After saying that, I got into the taxi I had already called and left, leaving him stunned. In an instant, the number of viewers in that person's live stream increased tenfold. They weren't there for me, is to watch the eating shit live footage. Back at the dorm, I opened the live stream at the agreed time. In less than a minute, the number of viewers in the live stream directly reached 100,000 plus. I looked at the screen full of gifts, once again. I marveled at my wise decision. If I had directly exposed Qinling, how could I have made such a fortune now? I selected the rapidly scrolling bullet comments and replied to the questions. Yes, that's right. It's not a script. Although I'm out, someone else has gone in. In a few days, we will formally file a lawsuit with the court. Everyone can wait and see. Thinking back to the scene in the police station when Qinling saw that video, I can still laugh out loud now. Faced with repeated questioning from the police, Qinling firmly insisted that I was the one who stole her expensive skincare products. Until I took out that video, Qinling's face instantly changed. Her first reaction was to come and snatch the phone, but she was stopped by the officer. Student Qinling, please explain this. Qinling was first in disbelief, shaking her head frantically in her seat. After a while, as if she thought of something, she suddenly shouted loudly, "This isn't real. It must be AI generated." Yes, that's it. It's AI generated. Otherwise, how could she have known in advance that I would take her things? I looked at her with a half smile. So you're admitting outright that you stole something, then? And as for whether this is AI or not, I believe anyone with eyes here can see the truth. Qinling glared at me fiercely, just when I thought she had no way to defend herself. She suddenly forced out an ugly smile. Qingyang, I was just joking with you. Do you have to take it so seriously? She gently tapped my shoulder. All right, let's stop fooling around and hurry back to school. We have an 8 a.m. class tomorrow. I was utterly shocked. At this moment, I really wanted to pry open Qinling's brain to see what on earth was inside, enabling her to utter such outrageous words. Our school is, after all, a top-tier university. How on earth did she manage to get into our school? A hint of confusion surfaced in my mind. A joke. I'm not joking with you. You've slandered me and stolen my valuable property. Qinling, you can just wait to go to jail for me. Qinling wanted to come up and tug at the corner of my clothes. No, just because of such a small matter. Are you trying to ruin me? Su Qingyang, you can't treat me like this. My husband won't let you get away with it if he finds out. The police held her back firmly. Before leaving, I gave a smile to the silent political education teacher standing nearby. And you, don't think I'll let you off just because you're shrinking like a quail. The political education teacher glanced at me lightly and said, I didn't steal anything from you, so even if you report me, it won't do any good. I smiled mysteriously, didn't argue with her. She had no idea. In this internet age, as long as netizens dislike someone, there's nothing they can't bring down, no secret they can't uncover. Sure enough, after I released the original video of Qinling stealing, the public opinion online immediately shifted. The anger from being deceived far outweighed the anger over the theft itself. The keyboard warriors who had attacked me all fell silent and disappeared. Those who had previously criticized me for having a strange expression and being stubborn now praised me as a fearless, independent woman. She is a role model for women. Feeling deceived, angry netizens doxed Qinling and the political education teacher. Regarding why the political education teacher targeted me, although I mentioned in the live stream that it was because I publicly pointed out her mistake and embarrassed her, many netizens don't believe it's that simple. It takes a teacher to help one student harm another. The relationships among the three must be quite close. Soon, someone dug up Qinling's college entrance exam admission ticket. What came next was truly shocking. Qinling looks completely different from the photo on her exam admission ticket. This indicates that Qinling took someone else's place to attend this university, and Qinling's real name is actually Yang Feng. When I saw the high school transcript of Yang Feng provided by netizens, I felt like my brain had been violently yanked by a toilet plunger. Everything makes sense now, following the trail. It didn't take long for someone to uncover that. Aside from the connections Qinling had back in her hometown, the substitution of the admission spot also involved someone within the school. That someone was the ideological and political education teacher. This teacher happened to be the older sister of the 30-year-old boyfriend of the fake Qinling. For a while, major scandals kept emerging, and public discussion reached new heights. I go live every night at 8 o'clock sharp, repeatedly discussing these matters. After a single livestream, the minimum earnings start at 100,000. As netizens dug deeper, evidence of the fake Qinling taking someone else's spot was quickly gathered. My lawsuit against the fake Qinling and the political education teacher also went to trial. Both of them ultimately received the punishment they deserved. In court, seeing that the situation was hopeless, the political education teacher and the fake Qinling knelt down and begged me desperately, "Please, Qingyan. For the sake of our time as roommates, can't you let me off just this once? Yes, I'm a despicable person, I shouldn't have provoked you, but can't you be a little less petty? Qingyang, I'm innocent, I was just deceived by Yang Feng. If you want to blame someone, blame them. Can you let me go?" Upon hearing the political education teacher's words, the fake Qinling immediately became anxious. "What do you mean by that, you old hag? Are you trying to shift all the blame onto me?" The fake Qinling was so angry that she grabbed the political education teacher's hair, but the teacher didn't back down either. Before anyone could pull them apart, a loud bang was heard. The fake Qinling was shoved to the ground by the political education teacher, her head hitting the corner of a desk. She lost consciousness on the spot. Later, the fake Qinling died after failed rescue efforts, while the political education teacher was sentenced to 15 years in prison for multiple charges including involuntary manslaughter and abuse of authority. As for me, he successfully caught the wave of immense traffic in wealth, embarking on the path of a self-media influencer. At a young age, he has already achieved financial freedom. As for my wealthy, second-generation rich boyfriend, he was deceived by the fake Qinling and even slept with her in his past life. I feel disgusted. How could I possibly still be with him? After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My college roommate is obsessed with my super masculine father, claiming she wants to become my stepmother. I kindly warned her, my dad is old and doesn't even shower. My roommate didn't care at all, saying, "Older men know how to cherish people." I love that mature manly scent on him. My dad is super masculine, he could knock out a kid with one punch. My roommate was even more enamored. He's so manly, how lucky the woman who gets to be with him must be. To seduce my father, she had plastic surgery to look like my deceased mother and climbed into his bed, but she didn't know that my mother was actually killed by my father. "Penny, was that your brother who dropped you off at school?" Linda stared at my father's retreating figure, her gaze firmly fixed on him. My face remained expressionless, but inside, a storm of emotions was raging. I had actually been reborn 2 years into the past. Today was the first day of my freshman year, and my father had just dropped me off at the dormitory. Since it was a two-person dorm, Linda and I had chatted online beforehand, so we were relatively familiar with each other. Linda had only caught a glimpse of my dad, yet she became infatuated with him. She pretended to become good friends with me and, while I was off guard, inquired about my dad from various angles. I genuinely considered her my closest friend, yet she wanted to become my stepmother, to seduce my father. She even went as far as getting plastic surgery to look like my deceased mother and climbed into his bed. I kindly warned her that my father was not a good man, he's old and doesn't bathe. Linda didn't mind. Older men know how to cherish people. I just like that masculine scent about him. What do you know? My father is a hyper-masculine man, capable of going crazy at any time, anywhere. Once, in a fit of rage, he punched a child on the street so hard that he shattered the child's eyeball. If it weren't for my grandfather building a vast family fortune for him and cleaning up his messes, he'd still be singing the blues behind bars right now. But Linda only loved him more upon hearing this. He's so manly, how happy his woman must be. My repeated attempts to stop her successfully angered Linda. On my 22nd birthday, she tricked me into going to a deserted alley under the pretense that my boyfriend was there. I was tortured to death by over a dozen thugs, my body bent at a 90-degree angle before I died, with all my bones broken, dying in excruciating pain, thinking of the inhuman torment before death. I clenched my back teeth so tightly they nearly shattered, almost without thinking. I slapped Linda across the face with all my might. The force was so great that my arm went numb, but it was nowhere near enough to extinguish the hatred in my heart. Linda covered her face and screamed loudly, "Penny, why did you hit me?" I blinked, forcing out a smile. "Sorry, I saw a mosquito on your face." As I spoke, I extended my palm. A smear of bright red was clearly visible. I took out a wet wipe, scrubbed it off hard, and only then answered her, "Oh, that's my dad," staring at her gaze. I paused for a moment before adding, "My mom passed away a few years ago, and now he's single. In my previous life, even by the time I died, my father had never married her. In return, I naturally had to wholeheartedly fulfill her wish." Linda was determined to marry my father, all because she had her eyes on my family's wealth, hoping to climb the social ladder and transform into a phoenix. With the red mark of a slap on her face, Linda's thoughts raced, upon hearing that my father was single. Her eyes lit up, and she instantly forgot the anger from the slap I had just given her. She then skillfully linked her arm with mine, acting as if nothing had happened. "Oh, that's your dad. He looks so young." I suppressed my discomfort and subtly put some distance between us. "Yes, he had me when he was 20, so he's only 40 now. Back then, relying on his family's wealth, he forcibly took and married my mother. When I was a child, I never understood why my mother always gazed out the window with such a worried look. Later, as I grew older, I understood. I wanted to take my mother away from that cage, but she was no longer there." Linda pestered me, insisting on hearing the love story of my parents. I looked at her with a half-smile. "You seem quite interested in my dad." She guiltily turned her head away, stammering an explanation, "And no, not at all. I just think your dad, at first glance, seems like a deeply devoted man." Then she murmured softly, "He must have been very lonely all these years, right?" I laughed. "Lonely, let alone the fact that my mom is no longer here. Back when my mom was still around, he never lacked women by his side, but I certainly wouldn't tell her that." I feigned bitterness. "Yes, as a daughter, I genuinely hope my dad can have someone to rely on." Linda's eyes lit up. "Penny, do you really think so?" I nodded, and her gaze shifted. She said she wanted to see a photo of my mother, and the ambition in her eyes was almost overflowing. "So eager to become my stepmother, are you?" I showed her my phone's lock screen, the only photo of me and my mom together. As she leaned in to look, I exclaimed, "Linda, your eyes and eyebrows look a bit like my mom's." Her gaze fell on the screen, and her eyes visibly brightened. After showing her, I deliberately left my phone on the table, pretending I needed to go to the restroom. When I came back again, I noticed the phone on the desk had shifted slightly. I understood immediately. She must have secretly taken a photo of my mom. I was afraid she wouldn't take it. I deliberately placed the luxury bags from my suitcase in plain sight in front of her. "Penny, these bags must be quite expensive, right?" Sitting in her chair, she couldn't help but ask in the end, in my past life. She had asked me the same question, and for the sake of our 4-year friendship in college, I waved my hand generously, letting her pick whatever she wanted. "Not too bad, just the cost of a meal." I deliberately exaggerated to provoke Linda. She couldn't sit still any longer. "Just the cost of a meal." Linda could afford to live in a 2-person dormitory, which meant her family might not be extremely wealthy, but they certainly didn't treat her poorly, she hinted in her words. "Your dad is so good to you, not like me. I have nothing, but if I wasn't mistaken, what she wore wasn't high-end luxury, but they were all name brands." Was that still not enough? Suddenly, I also realized that some people will never be satisfied with the status quo. I didn't respond, just focused on packing my own luggage. She saw it all but could only fret silently. In the following days, I deliberately made a few calls in front of her with my dad, each one flaunting our wealth. "Dad, why did you send me money again? I already have enough to spend. I still have a few million in my bank account. I'm just going to school, not buying the whole campus. I've received the new bag. Thank you, Dad." Linda had also witnessed my extravagant spending habits and couldn't help but criticize me. "Penny, your dad works hard to earn money. You really spend too much." I didn't take it to heart and flaunted my wealth even more. I slathered my feet with black bandage masks as if they were free. These days of military training had rubbed my feet raw. I even used La Mer as if it were body lotion. After the military training ended, Linda finally managed to get my dad's contact information. As for how she managed to add him, it was all thanks to me. I deliberately forgot to lock my phone screen several times, giving her the opportunity. She would stare at her phone in a daze every day, and whenever a message notification sounded, Even in the middle of the night, she would jolt awake from bed, a perfect picture of a lovesick girl. Linda was no simple character either. She quickly hit it off with my dad. Several times, I accidentally caught a glimpse of her chat interface. Uncle, Chinyan ate her meals properly today too. She took a photo of me eating, but cleverly made sure her sheer black stockings and long legs were in the frame. As for my dad, he never turns anyone away. Linda grew closer to my dad and, without even realizing it, started acting like a senior around me. Penny, don't you feel guilty spending your dad's money like that? You're already in your 20s, and sooner or later you'll get married. What will your future husband think of you if you keep acting like this? We're all just students. If you keep being so unconventional, no one will want to hang out with you at school. She spoke with righteous indignation. I just gave her a lazy glance. If you knew how wealthy my family is, you'd envy my good fortune. Linda's hands, clasped behind her back, unconsciously tightened into fists. Is that so? Ha! She practically spat out those words through gritted teeth. Linda seemed lost in thought, but I didn't pay her any mind. It wasn't until we were heading to class that she suddenly knelt before me in front of everyone. Chinyan, you're so wealthy. Could you lend me 200,000 yuan? Though she called it a loan, there wasn't a trace of humility in her demeanor. I've seen people who rob money, but this is the first time I've seen someone rob money on their knees. I won't lend it. I refused outright. In my previous life, she also borrowed money from me. I thought 200,000 wasn't much, so I lent it to her, but who would have thought? In the blink of an eye, she transformed into the spitting image of my mother. Seeing my refusal, Linda's expression turned grim. How can you be so stingy? It's only 200,000. It's not like I won't pay you back. Her tone carried a hint of anger, yet she didn't dare to openly confront me. After all, Linda hasn't yet secured her position and isn't willing to offend me directly. Oh, and then what? She also realized this and softened her tone. Penny, I'm sorry. I spoke too harshly. Actually, my mother is sick and needs 200,000 for the surgery. I was just a bit anxious, seeing her put on that pitiful look. I sneered inwardly. Borrowing money is out of the question. The classmates nearby couldn't stand it either and chimed in to support Linda. Exactly. Penny, aren't you supposed to be rich? We're all classmates here. Don't be so heartless. Just 200,000. That's less than the price of one of your bags. That's a human life we're talking about. Linda bit her lip, her eyes brimming with a smug, cunning gleam, even with my toes. I could imagine she was trying to use public opinion to morally blackmail me. I glanced at the few who were speaking and pointed at one of them, saying, "You're absolutely right, so why don't you lend it? Don't you have any?" The person I pointed at was taken aback and blurted out, "If I had it, I would definitely lend it." I understood and took out a piece of paper and a pen from the drawer. "All right, then how about you write an IOU and help her borrow 200,000. People are always like this. When it doesn't concern them, they can stand high and criticize others without a second thought. Once their own interests are involved, they turn their backs without a second thought. What does that have to do with me?" The person I pointed at flushed red, threw out a sentence, and then turned and fled in a panic. The few others who had been watching, afraid of being pointed at by me, all turned and left. Seeing me easily drive people away, Linda grew anxious. She tugged at my pant leg, pleading, "Penny, my mom is really sick. I can write an IOU. I promise I'll pay you back." There were still accusing glances directed at me from the surroundings, as if my refusal was some great act of defiance. If it were someone else, I would have lent the money without a second thought. "Auntie," Linda said, "you're sick. Is that true?" I suddenly spoke up, holding my phone that was in the middle of a call. Linda was taken aback, noticing that I had made a call at some point without her realizing, and her gaze was clear. That string of phone numbers was her mother's. I didn't. The aunt's words were cut short. Linda anxiously reached out to snatch it, directly hung up the call, and got up from the ground. A hint of panic was still visible. "I don't understand. Isn't Auntie sick? I'm just asking after her. Why do you seem so anxious?" "Fine. Don't lend it then, as if anyone cares." She gritted her teeth and glared at me fiercely. Linda was truly guilty. Although Auntie hadn't finished speaking, everyone had already heard enough. A voice full of vigor, sounding nothing like a frail patient about to undergo surgery. So she was just trying to scam money. With her lie exposed in public, Linda grew even angrier. Her plan had failed, and she couldn't borrow money from me. I was even more curious. What would she do next? Linda seemed genuinely anxious, having heard that she had borrowed from classmates all around. However, everyone knew she was lying, and no one was willing to lend her money. In the end, she managed to borrow money from some app. For the following month, she took leave from school and never returned, and I was even more delighted, wishing she would never come back, until Lucas appeared before me again. An entrance identical to the previous life, on the basketball court. A wayward ball flew straight toward me, and Lucas heroically stepped in front of me to save the day. In my past life, I fell in love with Lucas at first sight, just like that. "Classmate, are you okay?" A low, husky voice sounded in my ear, pulling me back from my memories. Before my eyes was that familiar face, accompanied by the teasing and playful laughter around me. For some reason, that heart-fluttering feeling was gone. It was a full 6 months earlier than when I met Lucas in my previous life, but could it really be such a coincidence? A basketball court, a hero saving a damsel in distress. Few girls could resist such an encounter. I glanced around, taking in everything in my peripheral vision. Even those boys who were stirring up trouble were the same as in my previous life. They were all Lucas's roommates. But as I looked at the concern in Lucas's eyes, it didn't seem fake. It wasn't until I subconsciously pushed Lucas away as he approached that I caught the flash of anger in his eyes. Soon, he returned to that warm, boyish demeanor, as if everything had been my imagination. "Thank you," I said, realizing how strange my actions must have seemed. Lucas's roommate walked over, slung an arm over his shoulder, and winked at me. "Little Junior, you have no idea how long Lucas has been paying attention to you." Lucas nudged his elbow back, signaling him not to speak carelessly, then gave me a rather embarrassed smile. "My friend is always joking around, don't take it seriously. Did that ball just now scare you? How about I add you on WeChat? If you feel unwell, you can reach out to me anytime." He shyly scratched his head, asking for my opinion. In my past life, Lucas was a year ahead of me. We had a great relationship. He was gentle, attentive, and could handle all my little moods. I have to say, I really liked him back then. So much so that later, when Linda used Lucas to lure me out, I never doubted it. Even though I knew it had nothing to do with him, it was Linda's fault. Yet, facing Lucas, I felt an indescribable strangeness in my heart. Seeing him, I can't help but recall the unpleasant experiences before my death. Still, I added him on WeChat. I could even guess what his next message would be. From that day on, rumors about us began to circulate around the campus. They say Lucas fell in love with me at first sight, and that we're about to get married. He always seems to appear right in front of me at just the right moment. "Classmate Penny, what a coincidence. You're studying in the library too. Do you mind if I sit next to you?" "Classmate Penny, it's so late. Let me walk you back to the dorm." "Classmate Penny, you're here at the cafeteria too. Mind if I join you?" "Classmate Penny, you also chose this course. We really are fated, aren't we?" Even the way he made his entrance was exactly the same as in my past life. For a moment, I even wondered if Lucas had also returned. I tried several times before confirming that he had no memories of his past life. Before I could think too much, Linda finally returned to school. With a face that was 80% similar to my mother's, she looked completely refreshed from head to toe. And she returned to school in my father's Rolls-Royce. It caused quite a stir. Someone took a photo and posted it on the forum, and everyone was discussing it, speculating which wealthy family's daughter she was. I came across the post just as I was on my way back to the dormitory. If I'm not mistaken, there are only 5 of those luxury cars in the entire country. "Miss, how could you forget about your old servant? Wah wah wah. I really want to fight it out with these rich people." A wealthy heiress suddenly appears out of nowhere, and she's so beautiful too, indeed. The watershed of life is amniotic fluid. I wonder which department this junior is from. When I returned to the dorm, Linda seemed to have been waiting for me all along. Seeing me return, she flashed a triumphant smile, with several new handbag designs displayed beside her. "Penny, you're back." She stood up to greet me, extending her hand toward me with a shy, smiling expression. "Linda, what are you trying to do by getting plastic surgery to look like my mother? Did my father's driver bring you back?" I deliberately stood at the doorway and shouted at the top of my lungs. Linda didn't expect me to blurt it out so brazenly and shot me a look of disgust, and I successfully drew the attention of everyone in the neighboring dorm. "I thought you were my friend, but you're hooking up with my dad." My eyes reddened, and even my hands trembled. A collective gasp of shock rippled through the room. All eyes fixed on the unfolding drama, Linda tried to signal me, urging me to close the door before continuing. "Penny, you've misunderstood. I can explain." She leaned in close, her voice a low warning meant only for my ears. "Penny, I'm going to marry your father someday. You'd better not cross me here. LOL. Does she really think I'd be scared, even if she actually marries my dad? I'm not afraid at all. Before Grandpa passed away, he knew my dad couldn't be relied on, so he transferred the company shares to me early on. As soon as I graduate, I'll be the one in charge." But looking at the face that resembled my mother's, I still couldn't help but get angry. "Linda, do you still want to marry my dad?" I screamed, seemingly heartbroken. There was a lot of acting involved, but naturally, some people believed it. Damn, we thought she was some rich girl, but it turns out it's Linda. She's so disgusting, altering herself to look like Qian Yan's mom just to seduce her dad. Linda must be desperate for money. Her dad is already in his 40s, you treat you as a friend, but you want to be their stepmother. How shameless. With everyone chiming in one after another, even Linda, with her thick skin, couldn't withstand the criticism. She shot me a glare, covered her face, and ran out of the dormitory. After she left, everyone comforted me with a few words. I also expressed my disdain for someone like Linda, and everyone will definitely stand by me. I expressed my gratitude and gave everyone a small gift. Now, public opinion has completely shifted to my side. In my previous life, Linda and I also had arguments, but back then, she was more popular than I was. Under the banner of true love being blameless, she didn't suffer a single rumor or gossip at school, but I never expected. Not long after Linda left, I received a message from my dad. He told me to apologize to Linda, or else he would freeze all the bank cards under my name. Penny, don't you miss your mom? Dad finally met someone who looks so much like her. Please stop making a fuss. How disgusting. How revolting. In my memory, my mother never once smiled at him. There was a basement in the house, and whenever my mother disobeyed, she would be locked inside. When I was a child, the housekeeper forbade me from going near it, but I would always hear a woman's low, agonized cries late at night. Then the next day, Mom had many more blue and purple bruises all over her body. They always thought I was too young to remember anything, but they were wrong. I remember it all. I remember Mom's life of wanting to escape but being tied up and threatened, the wounds on her body that never fully healed, and her telling me to flee this hellhole. Okay, Dad, I'll apologize to her. I obediently agreed. And a woman's voice came through on the other end of the line. Penny, why do you have to be like this? Even through the screen, I could imagine the expression on her face right now. Must be feeling quite smug and self-satisfied, thinking you're about to marry into a wealthy family, aren't you? Without the anger and frustration Linda had imagined, my tone was as calm as still water, even carrying a hint of a smile. Yes, Linda, you're right. From now on, we'll be family. I apologize to you. I was in the wrong this afternoon. You better not run away. Linda was taken aback. She never expected me to apologize so readily. Linda seemed to want to say something, but the phone seemed to be dropped to the ground, followed by the sound of gasping breaths rising and falling. I hung up the phone, suppressing my disgust, and could easily guess what they were doing. Linda returned to school a week later. In October, J-City was still scorching hot, and everyone was wearing short sleeves. Yet Linda wished she could wrap herself up tightly. I was startled when I saw her. Dark circles under her eyes almost reached the corners of her mouth, and she looked utterly lifeless, even walking with a limp, and my father, following behind her, looked as if he were appraising a perfect piece of work. Dad, I hid the surprise in my heart and dutifully played the role of the obedient daughter. He only glanced at me absent-mindedly before fixing his gaze intently on Linda. Linda numbly packed her belongings, and several times during the process, she looked at me as if she wanted to say something but held back. I will arrange for Linda to drop out of school. She won't need to attend anymore. Come home for a meal this weekend. Linda was held in his embrace, her expression hidden from view. I watched them leave all the way, and after they were gone, I found a note covered on Linda's desk. It read, "Help, Tisk, regretting it already. I just saw it. Linda is covered in wounds and red marks. Exactly the same as the scars my mother had when she was alive." I crumpled the note into a ball and casually tossed it into the trash can. Saving her is out of the question. Isn't this what she asked for? My phone happened to ring. It was Lucas inviting me to the library. During this time, I had tested him several times and found nothing unusual at all. Gradually, my guard against him also lowered. After all, in our past life, our relationship had been very good. I got dressed casually and went to the appointment. "Penny, over here." Lucas waved at me from the corner, calling my name softly. As I walked over, I saw my favorite milk tea and a small cake on the table. It was clear that Lucas had put some thought into this. My heart softened, and I sat down beside him. "Have you been waiting long?" Lucas smiled dotingly. "No, I'd wait for you as long as it takes, and I just got here not long ago. Linda just went back to the dorm to pack her luggage, so I was held up for a bit." I explained to him. "She's not with your dad." Lucas's words trailed off halfway, and he awkwardly corrected himself. I didn't mean it that way. It's just the recent rumors at school." My heart sank. The rumors about Linda and my dad were spreading like wildfire at school. There were all sorts of nasty things being said, so it was only natural for Lucas to say something like that, for some reason. Listening to Lucas's explanation suddenly felt very interesting. I just remembered I have something to do. I should go. Without waiting for Lucas's reaction, I grabbed my bag and left. After I had gone far, Lucas didn't chase after me. Instead, he sent me over a dozen messages apologizing. "Penny, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I didn't mean it. I've just heard so many people gossiping about Linda, and it slipped out without thinking. I'm sorry. I apologize to you." I glanced at it and turned on Do Not Disturb when I returned home on the weekend. Linda had moved into the room my mother used to occupy. Originally, she only bore an 80% resemblance to my mother, but now she could almost be said to be identical, except for the hatred in her eyes when she looked at me. During meals, Linda would glance cautiously at my father every time she picked up a bite of food, as if afraid of doing something wrong. Since they were at home, Linda didn't wrap herself up tightly. All the scars on her body were clearly visible, whip marks and bruises. Large and small, she huddled timidly beside my father, a far cry from her previous arrogance. I imagine she must be bitterly regretting her choices now. Wealth and status are not so easily attained. After all, if given the choice, I would rather have lived with my mother in an ordinary family. At the dinner table, my dad said he wanted to marry Linda and asked for my opinion. Of course, I supported it with both hands and feet. Linda had been looking for opportunities to get me alone. When my dad suddenly took a work call, she finally found her chance and cornered me on the stairs. "Penny, you must be feeling pretty smug seeing me like this, aren't you?" She lowered her voice, afraid of being overheard by a third person. Her tone was filled with intense hatred. "Wasn't it you who insisted on marrying my dad? Shouldn't you be the one feeling triumphant?" I spread my hands, feeling rather helpless. In my past life, I tried every means to obstruct her, only to meet a miserable end. Now, I've kindly stepped aside for her, and she's blaming me instead. "Do you really think I don't know you had a hand in this?" Linda had grown smarter and quickly discovered my involvement. "It was you who hinted that I look like your mother, and you kept flaunting your wealth in front of me, stirring up my desires and leading me step by step into your trap." Linda had pieced everything together, the veins at her temples throbbing with anger. "What did I ever do to you to deserve this?" In her eyes, I am the source of all her suffering. But what have I done? I merely spoke a few truths, and indeed, I am very wealthy. Did I force you to get plastic surgery, or did I make you seduce my father? Linda, you truly have opened my eyes. The sheer shamelessness of it all. TSK, TSK, TSK. Her face turned pale at my words, her chest heaving. I patted her shoulder and smiled. "Didn't you get what you wanted, stepmom?" For the last line, I struggled to hold back my laughter. Linda wanted to say more, but unfortunately, my father returned. With just one look from my father, no matter how much she had to say, she obediently followed him back to the bedroom. This time, he specifically called me back not only to inform me about his upcoming marriage but also for another matter, in the study. My father took out a share transfer agreement. "Penny, your grandfather was confused by illness back then and gave you the company shares, but you're just a girl. How are you fit to take over the company? Sign this agreement, and I'll support you for the rest of your life." I didn't move, glancing at the agreement, not signing. Bang, an ashtray crashed to the floor beside my feet, though, if I hadn't dodged in time, it would have struck my forehead instead. "You dare to hide?" My father kicked over the chair with a loud bang, rushed forward, grabbed my neck, and raised his fist, ready to strike. In an instant, those long-buried memories suddenly flooded back to me. When I was 8 years old, I disobeyed the nanny and secretly ran to the basement, only to find my mother locked inside. Yet they had told me she had gone on a trip. Even though I was young, I knew I had been deceived. I was about to leave with my mother when my father happened to see us, without a word. He pulled the belt from his waist and started hitting me. If it weren't for my mother shielding me, I might have been beaten to death right then. After that incident, I fell seriously ill and was sick for a long time, my head feeling dizzy and muddled. After I recovered from my illness, all I knew was that my mother had fallen ill and passed away. From then on, I began to tread carefully in this household, studying all kinds of knowledge and winning every competition, just to show my grandfather my capabilities. Later, I lived up to everyone's expectations and successfully obtained shares in the company. However, my grandfather did not fully trust me. I had to wait until after graduating from university to be eligible to take over the company, and now, the one in power is still my father. He would never be willing to give the company to me. I've always known that, before. I had always unconditionally followed my father's words, of course. He was furious when I refused. "Dad, the transfer agreement is useless. The shares aren't actually in my possession yet." My face flushed red as I forced the words out from my throat. He eyed me suspiciously, his grip loosening slightly, signaling for me to continue. "Grandpa said the shares won't take effect until after I graduate. Until then, I have no decision-making power. Even if you hadn't said anything, I would have given them to you after graduation." I spoke very sincerely, even pulling up the pre-prepared transfer agreement from my phone. Only then did he let go of me, returning to his gentle and refined demeanor. "Penny, you are truly Dad's good daughter." I coughed a few times and remained silent. He waved his hand, signaling for me to leave, and only then did I dare to go. No sooner had I stepped out of the study than my father dragged Linda into the basement. In the stillness of the night, screams pierced the air. I opened the surveillance footage on my phone, a camera I had secretly installed years ago. Now it's finally coming in handy. In the surveillance footage, Linda was kneeling before my father, her limbs shackled with iron chains, her body barely covered by a translucent piece of cloth. My father held a candle in one hand, tilting it slightly, and the scalding wax dripped onto Linda's back. The louder she screamed, the more excited my father became, after watching for a while. It triggered a physical wave of nausea in me. I slept very restlessly that night. I dreamed of my mother, and then I dreamed of myself from my past life. On Sunday, I returned to school. Before leaving, Linda begged me to save her. "Penny, please save me. Take me away. I swear I'll never try to seduce your dad again. If I stay here any longer, I'll really die." I was wrong. I was truly wrong. She rolled up her sleeves to show me the scars on her body, trying to win my sympathy. Now she seemed truly frightened, no longer desiring any wealth or glory. "Dad," I called out without answering her, addressing the figure behind her. Linda's face turned pale, as white as paper in an instant, trembling all over. "Linda, you think you can run?" My father stood behind her, looking down at her from above. "No." Linda's words were choked in her throat as she was dragged back alive. I did not intervene. She brought this upon herself. I didn't go back to school right away. Instead, I contacted an alumna from our university. She has quite a reputation online, considered a blogger with millions of followers. Wendy sat across from me, her tone not particularly friendly. "Well, if it isn't our Miss Penny, what brings you to ask me out?" I've grown accustomed to her sarcastic remarks. I sighed. "Cousin, I have something serious to ask you this time." I took a USB drive out of my bag and handed it to her. She didn't take it, instead looking me over with a scrutinizing gaze. "Wendy is my uncle's daughter. After my mother passed away, my uncle originally wanted to take me in, but I refused. Later, my uncle's family cut off contact with me, but I knew that he had always wanted to avenge my mother. This is the evidence of that man's crime," I added. Wendy was somewhat swayed, taking the USB drive and sneering. "What, are you willing to give up your life as a wealthy heiress?" She didn't know that the reason I stayed back then was precisely for this day, in my past life. If I hadn't been foolish, trusting those I shouldn't have, I would have died before even getting the chance to avenge my mother. "I've been waiting for this day all along," I said. I asked Wendy to post the video online. That same night, a video pleading for help and showing the assault went viral. At that moment, my dad's phone was ringing nonstop with calls from the company, but he never answered. This was partly thanks to Linda. I had asked her to find a way to keep the housekeeper away and keep my dad occupied. This is her only chance to get away from my dad. By the time my dad realizes it, it will definitely be too late. I glanced at the surveillance footage again and dialed 911. "I want to report a crime. Someone is being held against their will." When the police stormed into the family villa, my father happened to be beating Linda, who lay on the ground, barely breathing. My father was finally arrested. Besides Linda, other girls who had suffered his abuse also came forward to provide evidence to the police. The company's stock plummeted overnight, leaving everyone in a state of panic and fear for their own safety. My father's secretary found me, hoping I would step forward to protect my father and save the company. He said this was also my grandfather's request. If something happened to my father, I wouldn't be qualified to inherit the company. "But who told you I wanted to inherit the company?" I refused my father's secretary's request with an expressionless face. He stood frozen in place, quickly piecing everything together. "Miss, why would you do this? That's your father. If he falls, do you think you'll still have a life of wealth and privilege?" But I never said this was the life I wanted. All I ever wanted was to avenge my mother and myself. In the end, the Penny family still fell. All the assets under my father's name were frozen. The company was investigated by the Tax Bureau for suspected tax evasion, leaving a staggering 10 billion yuan hole. I directly declared the company bankrupt and surrendered all the properties under my father's name. From a high and mighty princess, I became someone everyone avoided. I chose a day with gentle breezes and bright sunshine to visit my father. Through the window, he roared and screamed. He called me an ungrateful wretch, a beast. He said not to wait for him to get out, that he would kill me sooner or later. "My dear father, you can't get out now." I watched coldly as he had used his family's influence to force my mother to marry him, ultimately leading to her death from depression. How could I possibly let him go? By the time I finished dealing with family matters, it was already the new year. The house was cold and deserted. Even the nanny had left. Wendy called me. "What are you still doing? Everyone is waiting for you to have the New Year's Eve dinner." The dark cloud in my heart finally lifted. This was the first warm New Year I had ever spent. After the New Year holidays started, Lucas found me. "Penny, where have you been? I couldn't reach you for a while, and I was really worried." Everyone else was avoiding me, but Lucas was the exception. There was a hint of concern in his eyes. And he let out a sigh of relief when he saw me. He asked to meet me in the alley outside the school that evening, saying he had something to tell me. In the evening, I arrived as promised. Waiting for me was not Lucas, but Linda and a group of unfamiliar men behind her. At this moment, there was nothing left to understand. Her eyes were filled with venom. Penny, it's all because of you that I ended up like this. How could I possibly let you go? I unconsciously tightened my grip on my bag. In my past life, Linda had lured me out using Lucas as an excuse, but this time, it was Lucas himself who lured me out. Just as she thought I was panicking and at a loss, I suddenly smiled. So, Linda, what do you want to do? Have these men behind you torture me to death? Do you realize that what you're doing is a crime? She burst into laughter, as if she had just heard the biggest joke. There are no surveillance cameras here. No one knows who asked you out. These guys behind me are all thugs. Once you're dead, I'll pay them off, and no one will ever find them. Go ahead, this woman is all yours to torment. I only have one condition. Don't let her die too quickly. Linda waved her hand, and the lecherous gazes of the men behind her fell on me, making me feel extremely uncomfortable. I remained calm and composed. Who told you I came alone? Turning my head, I called out to the back, come out now. Under Linda's astonished gaze, over 10 bodyguards filed in one after another. In no time, everyone, including Linda, was subdued and pinned to the ground. As for Lucas, naturally, someone went to find him. Linda found it unbelievable. She couldn't even understand why I was prepared. Aren't you fond of Lucas? Why? I pinched Linda's chin and locked eyes with her. Let me guess, you and Lucas are a couple, right? You had it all planned out from the start, intending to use me to get close to my father and swindle my family's assets. If you failed, there was still Lucas, wasn't there? And now you're turning on me because I'm no longer of any use to you, right? Linda's pupils involuntarily dilated, the guilt on her face betraying her thoughts. You, how did you know? I sneered coldly, but I wouldn't give her the answer. After all, I don't believe that the way the same person appears and pursues me could be exactly the same across 2 lifetimes. The only explanation is that everything was a carefully arranged script. As for how I confirmed it, it was still that day in the library, the words that Lucas blurted out. There were indeed many rumors at school, but no one had ever said that Linda was with my dad. How did he know so accurately? Later, I had someone investigate him and found out that he and Linda were actually from the same hometown. Some answers naturally come to the surface. Call the police. I dropped a sentence and turned to leave. Linda, Lucas, and that group of hooligans were suspected of fraud and attempted murder, and were arrested. As for me, I had already applied for the exchange program abroad with the school a month ago. I had been waiting for this day for a long time, and I had transferred quite a bit of assets here and there. The money in the bank card is enough for me to live a carefree life for most of my life. From the moment I stepped onto the plane, everything would start anew. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.